Now, this is a development I love, as the Detroit Red Wings have multiple players representing their country during the Winter Olympics. We're going to break down these player stats, what it means for the Red Wings moving forward, plus huge implications on this season, and so much more. So, Darius, let's just dive into it, where we know the Olympics is on the way. We have multiple teams going through, and they're fighting to get their spot in the tournament. We can see Canada, of course, in the Group A standings, holding down the top spot. But there are multiple Red Wings players that we do want to touch on. Sweden, for example, with Lucas Raymond, has been struggling to start this tournament. We can see one win over the 2 games. And Darius, I just wanted to dive into Lucas Raymond, who did register assists during Sweden's game today. But what is your thoughts on the start of that tournament and just how Lucas Raymond has been playing?
Well, we were talking about it going into it right before the break about how, this affects all the Red Wings that were going. Of course, Seider for Team Germany. You have Larkin for Team USA. And of course, Lucas Raymond for Team Sweden. And I was talking about how Sweden will probably struggle a little bit. That doesn't mean that I don't think they're going to go far, but I think in the games so far, the 2 games, they had a much weaker opponent in Italy. In the first one, they struggled a little bit there. It was mostly their goaltending, I should say. And then in this game against Finland, who's also another strong team, they struggled as well. But one guy who isn't struggling, Mark, is Lucas Raymond, who picks up another point in their game this morning against Finland. He's had a phenomenal season so far. He's over a point a game player. He has 60 points in 56 games. And so far in the Olympics, he is a point a game as well. So he's putting on a good performance in a very short tournament. We're going to blink and it's going to be over. So we are hoping on the channel, at least, for some success for Team Sweden. And one thing that I wanted to talk about is, yes, he's had success in the regular season, but the Red Wings are poised to make the playoffs for the first time in a decade at this point. And no one knows what that's going to look like. None of these guys have playoff experience, right? A lot of the younger players on this team and guys you're going to rely upon. And Lucas Raymond going to the Olympics here and getting this experience, to play with guys who have that playoff experience, that have gone far, maybe even won Stanley Cups. Victor Hedman is on that team, right? You have a guy like Eero Karlsson, for example, on that team. You look up and down the lineup, there's a lot of really, really good players. He can learn from some of these players, finally playing with them on a stage like this where he hasn't had that before. He's just playing for the Red Wings. Nothing bad with that, nothing wrong with that. But I think that he's going to be able to take something back from the Olympics that will push this team that much more forward. Because if you look at the race right now, he's going to come back and join the rest of the team and 2 other guys that are at the Olympics as well. But the rest of the team that's well rested, and they're right back in a race where you have to keep pace. You cannot fall out. And we talked about this in a previous video. You cannot fall out of a divisional playoff spot. That would spell trouble for them. That would mean you're either facing the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Carolina Hurricanes, who have a lot of playoff experience. But I love the fact that he's at the Olympics right now. He's playing well. He's putting up points, and he's playing with guys that I think can share some knowledge of, hey, this is what it's like to play in high pressure situations. We're doing it right now together as well, but maybe that can help them when the playoffs come, because I still think that the Red Wings are going to make the playoffs. A lot of people think that they're not going to. I think that's a bit ridiculous, but I think they're going to, but it just depends where and in what spot and how that will dictate their success in the playoffs.
And I think the big thing is, too, you hit it right on the head when you're saying a lot of these guys have a lot of playoff experience. Landeskog has won a cup as a captain. We know he returned. One of the best stories we've seen around the NHL. But the big thing is you're learning from all these guys. Raymond is still so young. And looking at a lot of guys across this, going into their 30s or in their 30s, he can learn from them like a sponge going into this. And what I like about this tournament, and the fact that we haven't really seen anyone on this roster in the playoffs yet, is the fact that Sweden will make it and start pushing through this tournament. And it's going to be interesting how he plays under pressure. It shows the big moments at the Olympic level is different than the NHL. Of course, the reffing looks better, but that's besides the point. This is, of course, a tournament where we're going to see the big players step up, see how they can play, and if Raymond can go further into this tournament and start dominating, scoring multiple goals, getting those big goals, it just shows what the future of this team really does. And Darius, of course, there's multiple guys. Mo is someone that looks like the top defenseman in the NHL. When you're looking around, of course, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, these guys put up points, but what we see on both ends is something that we haven't seen with any of the other players. Chris Pronger spoke about this quite a bit. A player that plays both ends, he sees some shades of himself. And listen, if Mo is going to turn into a modern day Pronger, I think we're quite happy with what we would get from that. But it does go into, listen, it's a young team. There's a lot of young talent. Larkin is over with Team USA as well, the veteran of the team, which feels crazy at the same time is flying. But Darius, looking at the team, the position they're in, what they're doing right now in the Olympics, does it make you feel like maybe we're getting a glimpse of how they're going to perform going into the playoffs? Of course, playing in the Olympics is different, so we're not going to see a team with the Red Wings where you have a lineup like this, but do you think maybe this learning experience is going to help push these guys to that next level?
Yes, and that's a great question. I'm so glad you brought that up because you can use a sample of the Four Nations face-off from last year as a direct comparison for some players. And I want to bring up a couple players. And yes, they play different positions, but it's a thing that happened just last season. So when you look at the three guys that are at the Olympics right now, Seider's playing great so far. I'm excited to see his next game. And by the way, on the weekend, Germany plays Team USA. That's going to be crazy to watch Larkin go against Seider. That's going to be a great matchup. Larkin hasn't looked too good at least so far in the Olympics, but he's also playing in a reduced role, less minutes. He's playing third line center, stuff like that. So it's a little bit different for some of these players, right? But I'm going to use a comparison to the St. Louis Blues last year. Jordan Binnington went to the Four Nations face-off, wasn't having the best year, and came back from that after winning with the confidence in a great tournament. He had a fantastic tournament, came back and turned that into a 12, I believe, game winning streak, at least at home. They turned around, they made the playoffs. He was hot. There were so many other players, like even Thomas Harley, that just built up that confidence through the Four Nations face-off last year for Team Canada and rode that through the rest of the year. So I feel like, Lucas Raymond, depending how far a lot of these guys go, Team USA is poised to go to the gold medal game, right? Like a lot of people are already talking about it. Sweden's going to be in the mix too. Depending how far they go, they're going to be playing in high stakes situations, and we'll see how they play there, what they take from that experience, especially a guy like Raymond and Seider, and how they could bring that back to the Red Wings as well. And if they do that, like we saw with a lot of guys last year for their teams that ended up making the playoffs, watch out for this team because everything in this league is momentum. And I keep saying the league is going to look different when you come back from the Olympics. A lot of guys are going to be rested. They're not going to be as banged up or hurt, right? At least the guys that are not at the Olympics. We're already seeing a ton of injuries there. But, they're going to come back. They're going to look different. And if you can ride that momentum into the playoffs, watch out because it's not how you start. It's always how you finish in the NHL, right? It doesn't matter who is in a playoff spot in October. So if the Red Wings can, their top three players at this point, I guess, honestly, like if you look at the entire team, besides John Gibson, of course, but if they can ride this, they're in a good spot heading into the playoffs.
And I think the thing, too, is even if a team doesn't win this, if USA doesn't win, Sweden, Germany, you're going to come back with a vengeance. You don't want to lose in the playoffs and at the Olympic stage, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, looking through Team USA playing Denmark, then Germany. The Germany game is going to be quite fun to watch. Latvia is going to be an interesting one as well because the goaltenders are always good there. But looking through the schedule, what game are you most excited for? Are you mad that Hamonic didn't make an Olympic team? Let us know all your thoughts on this team down below, including who do you think comes home with the gold medal? Is it USA? Is it Germany? Let us know all your thoughts because we love reading through them. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.